Hello, everyone. This is your friend Obi Naobwe from the TWI, the Wealth Institute. So it's a new year. It's 2026, and it's good to know that you're there. I want to apologize that we're putting out content pretty late or somewhat late. It's because we're trying to rejig some of our processes to make sure that we give you better value for your time, for your viewing pleasure, and to make our videos more insightful and more informative. So let's take a little break, a little step back to see what we could improve upon, what we could make better. And then we can assure you that we are back and we're stronger. And so on that note, we have a very insightful topic we're going to be looking at in this video. I christened it Think Rich, Grow Rich. You might be wondering why the choice of that topic. We have found that the difference between rich people and those who are not rich has a lot to do with how they think about money, how they view money. So I want to look at some of the viewpoints, some of the mindsets, if you like, that the rich have that most other people don't have. And so the first one we're looking at in this video is that the rich view money or see money as a tool, not as a goal. The rich see money as a tool to acquire systems, to build systems that multiply their money, not just as a tool to upgrade their lifestyle. Okay, so you find that most people see money as a goal. I want to get that salary raise so that I can have the kind of life I want to have. I want that promotion so I can get the corresponding paycheck increase so I can live in my dream kind of location. You know, the rich don't think like that. They see money as a tool to acquire productive assets, and these productive assets multiply money for them. So someone like Warren Buffett, for instance, is a master at acquisition of productive assets. You know, to acquire productive assets to increase your cash flow, your revenue, and all whatnot. So a typical example of this mindset configuration is if a rich person has money, the question he asks himself is, how can I multiply this money? Okay, how can I multiply? So he makes ₦1 million, for instance. How can I multiply this 1 million? On the other hand, most other people, when money enters their hand, the first thing they're thinking of is, how do I spend this money? All right, so that is a fundamental part of what sets the rich apart from every other person. The second mindset we want to look at in this video is that the rich focus on assets, not income. They focus on assets, not income. Now, the truth is that high income doesn't necessarily mean wealth. You can earn 1 million naira, 2 million naira, 5 million naira. I've heard sad tales of people who worked at the CBN, and by the time they retired, they were not wealthy. They were just comfortable. They had their own house, they had their own car. They sent their kids to school. They went to private universities, but they didn't have money minting machines, if you like, if you understand what I mean. They didn't have chains of businesses that were turning out large cash flows for them. You know, they just had an okay retirement. Okay, so having high salary or having high income is not equivalent to having a lot of money or being very wealthy. High income is not equivalent to high net worth. You know, so the rich think in terms of assets. So when people that are wealthy get money, they don't use it to upgrade their lifestyle. They use it to amplify their money. Okay, so they make 1 million naira, they make 10 million naira. They invest it in assets that multiply that money, unlike most other people who would invest it in trivial things. So the rich think along certain lines, and I'll give you quite a couple. So when the rich see money, they are looking at an opportunity to acquire equities, an opportunity to acquire real estate, an opportunity to acquire investment, intellectual property. In the West, for instance, you see the rich, they buy gold wristwatches, they buy expensive work of art. Sometimes they don't even buy very expensive. They buy works of art that are not so expensive, but they know would have appreciation value down the line, and then they sell it for a fortune later. They buy gold. Now, some of these wealthy people that you see wearing Rolex or other designer timepieces, they don't really buy it for show. They buy it as an investment. Gold is a very good store of value. So they buy those wristwatches because they know 5 years down the line, they're going to sell it for more than the money they bought it for. So rather than let it sit in the bank, they buy those kind of things. Those are assets, things that don't lose value and things that can be sold for greater value. So the rich think in terms of assets and not in terms of income, unlike most other people. The third point we're going to talk about, and that will be the third point for this first video, is that the rich think long term. They think futuristic. They think 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. They think in decades, okay? Most other people think short term, think in days, think in months. And that's why you find a lot of salary earners who live paycheck to paycheck. And what do we mean by that? They've mortgaged their paycheck even before it arrived. You have people who have salaries. They go borrowing food stuff, they go borrowing clothes, or they go buying clothes on credit, they go buying shoes on credit, they go buying fancy stuff on credit in the hope that when the salary comes, they pay back. So before the salary even comes, or before the income even comes, the money is already gone, So you find that it's a vicious cycle for them. So let's say the person earns 100K a month. He had pre-borrowed, permit the use of that word, he had borrowed rather 60,000-70,000 naira worth of things. So by the time the 100K comes, he has to pay back 60,000-70K, and then he's left with 30,000. And then he's wondering why he's not making progress in his finances. It's because of the mindset, okay? So the rich think long term, they don't think short term. Let me tell you a story. I know someone who is very wealthy. He had a windfall in business, and he made about 20-25 million naira. And so he needed to put that money somewhere. So I was thinking he would go buy a fancy car. Of course, he has flair for cars. But to my utter surprise or chagrin, he went somewhere in the southeast, a very fast developing area. He got plots of land, using that same sum of money. And I was wondering, why did you do that? He said, no, I want that money to multiply. In fact, can I shock you? That piece of property he acquired had already appreciated in value. He got it at a discounted price, because he had some insider information about the land and all of that. The market value of the property had increased before he even paid for it. So he was buying. So let's say it was worth 3 million per plot, for instance. He paid like 1.5, 2 million for it. So even before committing the money, he was really sure that his investment was going to appreciate, or had even appreciated by a certain level, by a certain value. So that's how the rich think. They think futuristic. They think 10 years, 20 years. Now, if that property is already worth 3 million today, and in another 5 years, probably worth 7, 8, 9 million per plot, given the rate of appreciation in the area where he bought the property. So most people think salary, think expenses, think their bills, but the rich think long term. They think 10 years growth. They think compounding. Okay, so if I put this money in real estate, if I put this money in stocks, if I put this money in bonds, and I compound it, you hear that language a lot with very rich people. They say, I'm going to compound this. I'll rather compound than spend. So that's a fundamental mindset difference between very rich or very wealthy people, or even wealthy people, not necessarily ultra wealthy, and most other people. So with these three key areas, key pointers, I believe you now have a sense as to how the wealthy think about money. And I want to encourage you in this new year, beginning to develop a mindset shift away from the way you used to see money. Okay, we've talked about 3 important areas about how the rich people see money. And if you can do the same things, you can also experience a turnaround. So if your salary comes, don't think how you're going to spend it. That fancy stuff I'm going to buy. Don't see money as an opportunity to upgrade your lifestyle. See money as an opportunity to increase your net worth. So with that note, on that note rather, we've come to the end of this video. In case you're new to this channel, please like this video. I believe it has opened your eyes to certain things you're not doing right. Like this video, you can share it with your friends, family, associates, people you feel would learn a thing or two from the things we have said. And then of course you need to subscribe to this channel so that you can get access to more engaging, empowering, educative and insightful content. So on that note, don't forget, I said there's going to be a second part to this video, so stay tuned. In a couple of moments or days, the videos are going to be out so that you can get the full package of what it means to think rich and then grow rich. So until next time, thank you for watching. Bye for now.